Hi folks, how you doing? So, it is another natter, but in this natter we are going to be looking at and discussing the prophecies of Nostradamus. Take the floor.
Take the floor. So, Nostradamus, Michael D. Nostradamus. He was born in December 1503 and died in July 1566. So he was an astrologer. He was, what's that word I can never pronounce?
Apothecary.
So in modern sense, that's a like a pharmacist.
Yeah,
Or chemist, alchemist maybe, I don't know. Physician and reputed seer.
Yeah.
So, and he wrote his book Last Prophecies in 1919. What am I saying?
1919.
No.
Did you say 1919?
I'd start to say 19. It should be 15.
Yeah.
In 1555, which became a collection of 942 poetic quatrains.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's like a quatrain is a 4-line poem. I think that's what it says. And apparently, because he was a reputed seer, these things were supposed to be predicting future events. Looking at it, I've looked at an anglicised version of it, because obviously it was written. Apparently, it was written in a collection of languages. I think. If you bear with me a second, I'm doing Wikipedia.
He's got his tablet out.
Wikipedia.
You downloaded the book, didn't you, from the library?
I've downloaded somebody's version of the book. I'll get to that one. But I've also downloaded a partial copy from Amazon, which is quite a lot of it actually. I was surprised. I was only expecting a few pages, but it's more than half the book. Just to get me an idea, get my head around what's going on. So the 941 quatrains are grouped together in what they're called centuries. Now, that's where we start wondering, are they actually centuries? Because they're numbered 1 to 9. And in each century, there's 100 poems, apart from the last century, where there's only 42. So, and I was reading, like, is it preface? Is it preface of a translation of the book, and there's not really, he doesn't really describe who's written it, or whether it's just literally a translation of the actual book, and it's a letter to his son. I don't know in the front, but apparently the predictions are supposedly up to, bear with us, about 3,000 in the year 3000. 3,797 apparently. So it's predicted from the day of 19. I keep saying 19, don't I? 1555 was when he first wrote them. So 3,797 apparently. So obviously you put 900 to take away 3,797. It's not going to be to the present day of when he wrote it. So in essence, each poem could not be a year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Yeah. There's only 957 or whatever I said. But it's covering a span of best part of 2,000 years. If that makes sense. I can't do the maths on top of my head, but it's more than 2,000 years that the prophecies are covering. So it's all very interesting.
We've had a look at a few.
Yeah, we've had a look, and there's I've got it on my on my library because I got it from the library, and I'm halfway through the book. I just want to give you the author's name. So the author is called Mario Reading or Reddin, whichever way you want to pronounce it, and the book's called Nostradamus: The Complete Prophecies for the Future, and he starts looking at prophecies from 2001, which is, I think, the Twin Towers, where one of the prophecies kind of, you could link it to the Twin Towers. And so he's not looking at the past, he's not going that far into the past. And I think the book was written in 2005, so he's kind of looking at the last 4 years and matching prophecies, and then it kind of goes into the future, if that makes sense. It's all very interesting, but I do start to worry that he's trying to match the numbers up to years in the future, but for the past ones he's not.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So, for example, sorry. I was looking at the first one, which is the Twin Towers one, that he's linked to the Twin Towers. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. So he's using Quatrain 10:49, which I'm a bit confused about because I thought it was only 9. That's weird, isn't it? Oh. The one I looked at was 187. I don't know where 1049 comes in, I've got to admit. But is that not the same one? Ah, there, right, okay, so that makes a little bit more sense towards the Twin Towers. So, shall we read the Quatrain out? So he's linked it, September 2001.
Can you read it in French, please?
No.
I'm joking.
I wouldn't want to upset any French people. I don't think any French people watch our videos, but even if one did want to watch one of our videos, I wouldn't want to upset them. But the Twin Towers, he's got 2 predictions for this, a link in that, and this is Quatrain 1, which is Century 1, and it's the 87th poem of Century 1. That's what I've kind of deciphered, but then I've just got a bit confused with the second one, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But the poem says, well, a bit more about Mario. So he's a linguist.
Yeah.
So, and he's got into looking at Nostradamus, and he's using his linguistic powers to decipher the language of the time, because obviously you're looking at 1500. And I think it's written over 3 or 4 different languages potentially, because at the time we might need to have a look a bit more of Nostradamus' history, thinking about it, because he came from a family of Jews, and I think Catholicism was quite the thing at the time, and you were starting to get the Inquisitions and all those kind of things, and so people were quite scared not to be Catholic.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know if you've watched the Monty Python sketch, the Spanish, everyone fears the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
And people used to get tortured and things like that to renounce the true faith or whatever. So I think his family became Catholics. But everyone was scared of the Inquisition.
Yeah.
And apparently the reason why he's made it quite cryptic was to hide its true meaning from the church, so the church won't come knocking on his door and saying, "What's this?" You know what I mean? So it's kind of made it a bit, I don't know, to one side almost. But so you've got to take what I'm trying to say is you might have to take the translation with a pinch of salt, because this is one person's translation of it, even though he's probably a very good translation because he's an academic and all that. I digress. Shall I read the poem?
Yeah, read the poem out.
So this one says,
Yours is itching.
"Earth shaking, a fire from the centre of the earth will shake the towers of the new city. As a result, 2 great rocks will fall. As a result, 2 great rocks will fight a long war until Afrusian springs bloody the river afresh." So obviously he's linking the towers and the 2 great rocks, although that seems to be 2 countries fighting or 2 great powers. So you could almost put it as a religious fight, and the 2 great rocks are your 2 different religions potentially, if you want to go down that route. There's so many I think just looking at this one prediction, there's so many ways you can look at it.
The thing is, with all predictions, there's so many ways, and people do that.
Yeah.
People get a prediction, be it their own personal prediction, or a prediction like that, and they can take it to mean whatever they want it to mean, and there's a lot of that in a minute.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
So obviously this has been done by him in retrospect. So obviously he's written this book, I think in 2005, and then you scour through the whole 900 poems and link events with, and obviously this one stood right out, saying New City, New York, towers, two rocks. You can maybe start thinking, well, does that match up? But that's when I start thinking, okay, that's fine, but how does that quatrain match? Because he's saying it's century 1, poem 87, and he's equating that to September 2001, and I'm like, oh, you'd have to be a crypto genius to try and decipher
Weird
that.
with the numbers. I've said this, haven't I? That I wonder if the numbers was just a filing system he had in his note system where he could. Because if he's done that many predictions, he may have put them under some type of a filing in his head where he can go back to them.
I mean, it might not have even been that. It might have been almost like a Roman war situation, because a group of soldiers, what would be like a platoon of soldiers in Roman times would be called a century.
Yeah.
And that would be because they'd have 100 soldiers in each century, which a century is 100. So it might not even be that. It might have just been, right, this is my first 100. You know what I mean? This is my second 100. This is my third 100. This is my fourth. And they might not have any meaning to any year. This is just how he came about them. Right, I'm going to do them in 100 blocks. And this is my prediction. First, prediction 1, prediction 2, prediction 3.
Yeah.
And they could be all over the place. Which is great, which kind of would match to this. But then we go into the future. And then it starts to get a bit... I start to think, the empirical side of me says, what are the chances of that? Because he's starting to predict future events, potentially, looking at them. And I think the book was written, if I go to something in 2007 or 8 or something like that, because I think the book was written after that, before that. And he's starting to link the dates with the quatrains. So this is a bit out there. So the financial meltdown of 2008 is linked to quatrain 828, which kind of can almost link to 2008. It's a bit closer. And then there's a few that are still a bit obscure, but then he starts actually getting them very close. So he's getting 10 for 2010, which is talking about an antichrist.
So what it says about that? Because that's an interesting thing at the minute, is that stayed with mass murder and adultery. His great enemy of humanity will be worse than any man before him in steel, fire, water, bloody and monstrous. See, that can be for anyone, that.
I know that's
2010.
that's one of what I'm going to talk about near the end of this video. I think.
Yeah.
With my other put on another side of the whatever is going on here, because they are quite. What's the word? They're not definitive, are they? Now I've already explained why people think they're not definitive, because he's kind of hiding it. He's hiding himself in plain sight from the Spanish Inquisition, from the Inquisition from the Catholic Church. Because anything like this, prophecies, they won't like that.
No.
You know what I mean? At the time, they'd have burnt him as a witch or as a wizard or something. You know what I mean? But this is where I start thinking. It's a good piece of work, this book. It's very interesting. But now he's starting to link quatrains up to years. So we've got 5, which is century 5, and the 11th poem of century 5, which is linked to 2011. And it starts going all the way through that. So another one, 2011, century 4, poem 11. So he's almost saying the poems are the year, if that makes sense. What the century means, I've no idea. And again, 10, 12. So it's almost poem 12 of century 10. I didn't even know there was I thought there was only 9. No, it makes sense that. No, I think the 10th century would be the ones that are not 42. That'd make sense, wouldn't it? Because 942 centuries. So 1 to 100's 1, and then 900 to 42 would be 10. I think. Something like that, anyway. That maybe makes sense. So we're trying to get his head around this while we're talking. So again, he's predicting I think I might have got this wrong. I think he might have wrote this book in 2015.
There might be different versions of it coming out at different times.
Yeah, have I got that wrong? He says in his in the introduction to the book when he wrote it somewhere. Yeah, first wrote the book in 2005, and he's kind of looking back on it afterwards.
The assassination of a world leader could have been JFK.
It could well be, but he's talked about. He wrote the book in 2005.
Yeah.
And he said the assassination. He was worried about President Bush at the time, and he said that they need to be wary about President Bush and being assassinated. And apparently there was some potential threats, but nothing ever came to pass. During the period of 2006 to 2008. Now, what happened in 2007, 27th of December, was the assassination of the one of the Pakistani candidates for president. What's her name? I've lost her name. Benzema Bhutto, is it? Benzema Bhutto.
Yeah.
Was assassinated just before the elections, and I think she was favourite to win. So he's kind of linking that prophecy now to that assassination. Now you could very easily link that to JFK as well if you so wished. Let's see if we can find the prophecy, 2005.
It is like I said to you earlier, predictions. Sometimes you can get one prediction, but it's actually not just one prediction, it's many predictions within one. And that's why they can become confusing. You're trying to look at that through the analytical brain, but actually with predictions you can't. Because when he's doing those predictions, he's using a different part of his brain. He's using something totally different.
I can't find it.
And also, with predictions, sometimes when you do them, you can actually do predictions and after, when you're finished, you actually cannot remember what you've said.
So the one that he's talking about is another 1026. So it's century 10 and the 26th poem of century 10. So the successor will avenge his handsome brother. He will take over the realm under cover of vengeance. The obstacle slain, his dead body sieves. Britain and France will hold together for a long time.
You see, there's two parts of that. You can say that's Bobby Kennedy. You could even say that's Bobby Kennedy and RFK Jr. But then you've got Britain and France in that as well. The successor will avenge his handsome brother.
So who's that then?
That could be Bobby Kennedy. That's the assassination of a world leader. Then Bobby tried to become president.
But he didn't.
He didn't. But then there's also Bobby's son now that's trying. But then you've got Britain and France will hold together for a long time. So
at the time when he wrote the book, he was linking it to the potential assassination of Bush. How that goes into brother, I think it's brother-in-law maybe he's trying to say in this one. So again, Jeb Bush. So in such an imagined scenario, if George Bush had gotten assassinated, apparently Jeb Bush who was already twice elected governor of Florida, would be voted in to replace him potentially, probably in another election. Forgive us, I don't really understand the American elections too much. But I'm only looking at a book as well.
He'd be vice president, wouldn't he?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, yes, the vice president would take over from but he would go for the next election.
Yeah. Oh yeah. True.
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to say, that Jeb Bush would come in after him, which could have been true, but it wasn't true, was it? So even after George Bush wasn't, Jeb never got to become president.
No.
Now, he might have become president if his brother had been assassinated, and he might have gone like the what was the politician that got assassinated in Heckman-Wike?
Oh God, I can't remember.
What was her name?
Joe Cox.
Joe Cox. No, didn't her husband become an MP afterwards?
I can't remember. I know her Aunt Corrie took it over, didn't she?
Somebody became an MP because of it afterwards, I think. And so it's that kind of, I won't say euphoria. What's the word? People move on because of it, and then obviously he's trying to link it now, in retrospect, to the assassination of the Pakistani leader in waiting. But I don't know how that relates to the actual poem. So that's where you said there's so many different ways you can interpret these things.
That could even be in relation to something we've no idea about.
Well, it could be something that's to come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We've not even seen yet.
Yeah, because he says it goes to 3057. Did I say? So this could be a prediction.
This could be something that brings in England and France.
Yeah,
Britain and France.
This could. There's another 1500 years to go. You know what I mean? And this is one of the later predictions, 1026. It's like he's only got another 26 to go. You know what I mean? So it could be any. You know, that's the problem we've got with it. I think.
Yeah.
It's people think that the Nostradamus predictions are linked to a certain year, and they're not. They're just not. All it's done is century 1 and poem 1 to 0 to 100, century 2 1 to 100, century 3 1 to 300. And I don't think that when it says century 1, it's not linked to a specific century.
I think the trick with these, all of them, is rather than try. No, it means that, because people do that and it really irritates me. It's about being able to see it, but being able to see all of it. It's like with the royal one and the thing that's famous now, with the fact the man that wasn't born the king, yada 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 yada. Yes, it can be.
Do you know which one that
the
is?
abdication that we've already had, but it can also be something coming in the future. But people get so rigid with it.
I think that's what it. Slow this. No. I've probably been better off. He's got them all like that. There's a succession to the UK throne, abdication of Charles III of England, and he's saying that would have happened in 2022, and obviously it's not happened. So again, he's tried to use retrospect for some. I think he's gone far enough, because obviously he could have gone right back to 1500 to some of the poems, and he's only gone back to the Twin Towers. And it's like, okay, if the predictions have been coming true, it must have been coming true before then. Now I'm sure some people said he's predicted the First World War, maybe the Second World War. Now I've not got that far in my research.
Yeah,
I've got to admit.
I've seen the Great Storm, End of Monarchy in Britain. I've never seen it. I've not seen any of those.
Yeah, these are all ones that he's predicting as futures kind of things.
Oh, you can do that. Royal blood will be diluted. France will be gagged by the Americans. Some time will need to pass until the memory of all that was said passes away. 2040.
I mean, that could be a historical one, that, very easily. Around the Revolution, American Revolutions, and so it's not easy to follow, is it? I don't think.
I think it's interesting.
It is very interesting.
I wonder if he did what like Gentleman and Lister did.
So.
Wait, I wonder if he's actually written it in code.
Oh yeah, that's what I've been trying to explain. Yeah. It's definitely written in code to some degree to hide from the Inquisitions at the time. It's deciphering the code. So you've obviously got the code of the 1 to 10 and the 1 to 100, the quatrains, and then you've also got, it's quite cryptic as well in the poem. You know what I mean? It's more like a crossword puzzle. Cryptical crossword puzzle, and you've got to look at the answer from the cryptical crossword. But then you've got to still use the quatrains to try and decipher what the year might be. Which is like, you know what I mean?
See, look at this here. Following one great human tragedy, a greater lies in wait. The mighty movement of the centuries brings renewal, rain, blood, milk, famine, sword, and the plague. Fire will be seen in the sky with a trail of sparks.
Now this one's been linked to a future event.
Yeah.
But that could quite possibly be any kind of past event. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's very different. Yeah. Interesting though. So what was my other...
The sword and the plague could also be how pandemics can be used by the pen as a form of causing disharmony within the masses.
Quite possibly. Fire will be seen in the sky with a trail of sparks. That says to me it's some kind of comet or asteroid or something like that in the sky. Rain.
You got an interesting one with the Prophet Muhammad, didn't you? Go to that one again.
The Prophet Muhammad.
Because you saw something totally different in that, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got to remember which one it was now. How did you get back? I don't know if you can get back. You might have to bear with me. You try and talk about something else while I try and find it. Again, it's all about interpretation, isn't it? And I'm trying to think what it was originally, the poem, which will make it easier to find it again. I can remember what it was originally about.
I can't remember.
I mean, either.
It was about money, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So when you did it last time, you scrolled right on and you've put it right on. There was that one about the new first family, which was really interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he's dated this one at 2024, which is this year, which is an election year. And when you link, new first family, obviously this isn't in the poem, this is what he's titled the subject as a new first family. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, if you're predicting new first family, that would be a brand new president. And the way it's looking at the moment, it's not going to be a new president. Yeah. It's going to be either Biden or Trump. So how can you have a new first family? Unless one of them leaves his wife. But it's still not a new family, is it?
Mars and the Spectre are like husband and wife. Under Cancer there will be a calamitous war. Soon afterwards a new king will be anointed, who for a long time will appease the earth. So that could be a few first family come in, then there's a war, and then there's a new king comes in.
I don't know.
You see, he lived in the time of kings, did he? They didn't have presidents back then, did they?
Yeah, in one of the other books, it does, again, I don't know if it's Nostradamus himself or it's a historical thing, it does kind of trying to explain that he's discussing his quotations from the time, from what he believes what people are, kings, queens, you know what I mean? They didn't have what we have now, so they might not have had presidents. You know what I mean? And so he can only see from what he can see. I mean, you say, well, you're supposed to be a psychic. Yeah. You know what I mean? So did you not know? Yeah, but
well, it's true.
Did you not know what presidents were? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't he if he's psychic? But it's all about...
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that, no, because it's what he believes and what he can see. And you do that on
one of the things I got last night whilst in bed was that it was actually a lot of these were warnings. There weren't really predictions. Some were, but some were also warnings. I wonder if a lot of what he's put has been fallen into the wrong hands, and it's been taken out of context, and the wrong people have deciphered it. And actually, if you take away the word predictions and put in warnings to humanity, poems about warnings to humanity, it reads very different.
Yeah, because if you think of the world or the universe as it's not written in stone, and you've got lots of different paths you can go down.
Yeah, so if you've got a client in front of you and you get some cards and you start predicting, you can say, well, if you do this, you're going to lead to that. I'm wondering if this is what it's all about, if it's actually warnings, but it's been taken out of, because the thing is, you put predictions and people take it out of context, whereas if you put warnings and messages for the future of humanity. Do you know what I mean by that?
I know what you mean, yeah. So this is one is linked to what the potential abdication of Charles III for 2022 and the quatrains 1022. Just out of interest. Because they disapprove of his divorce, a man who later they considered unworthy, the people will force out the king of the islands. A man will replace him who never expected to be king. So this is the one you was talking about earlier.
Yeah, because of the disappointment of his divorce.
The disapproved of his divorce, not disappointment.
Yeah, disapproved of his divorce.
Now obviously he's looking at this, he's set a date, he's using the quatrains, I think, to get this date of 2022. And obviously that has passed. For us, it was future for when he wrote the book. When did the Queen die?
22.
22, but it was late 22, wasn't it? So, I mean, if you look really into it and you say 1022, you'd say it's October 22, wouldn't you? But I think that was the time when the Queen died, wasn't it? September was not long after. And so he wasn't even crowned king until the following year, was he?
Yeah.
You can't abdicate if you're not crowned, can you? I don't think. So
you can abdicate if you're not crowned.
Can you? Okay. So, but it still gives you not much time frame from the prediction in this book, anyway. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because he is ill, is Prince Charles now. Everybody thinks he's going to get better, and he probably will. But he may not. He may die, or he may just become too ill to be king. You know what I mean? And he might need just to relax and rest for the rest of his life. And in that essence, if that happened, he'd have to abdicate, wouldn't he?
So then you can say that a lot of this is true because he has had a time where people disapproved of his divorce. He has gone through that. And it was at one point considered by a lot of people unworthy. And a lot of people, you know, when you see the abolish the monarchy stuff now, everywhere he goes, they had those placards, and even at his coronation it was there. So you can also break it down into, it's not just one prediction, it's a lot of predictions. And a man who would replace him were never expected to be king.
But could you look at this and go, well, let's just backtrack a bit and go back to Edward VIII?
I think it is Edward VIII.
Edward VIII.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because they disapproved of his divorce,
he didn't get divorced.
I know he didn't, but what were her name?
Wallis Simpson.
Wallis Simpson.
Her divorce.
Her divorce. That could be a term of language. I said his and her could be very easily misinterpreted.
Yeah, because women back then would not have been seen as important enough to get a divorce. It would have been the man getting the divorce.
So, because they disposed, it could be the divorce. We don't know. It says pour ne voulu concentre à divorce. Now I don't know my French, but I don't know what the a divorce is. That looks like a divorce to me, or the divorce. So just because it says his divorce, that's why you're like, oh, it must be Charles, because he's the only other one who's been divorced. But this could be Wallis Simpson's divorce. A man who later they considered unworthy. People did consider Edward VIII unworthy because he had links to the Nazis. Didn't they?
And other things, he would party and stuff like that. Yeah.
He had links to the Nazi party. And I think I think there's rumblings that the Nazi Party were going to try and get rid of the then king and bring him on board, so they didn't have to fight us in the war. So they wanted to bring him back as king. So that's the people will force out the king of the islands, where he was forced out. Maybe not by the people, but by the people that think they represent the people, which is the suits behind the monarchy. Forced him out that he can't have a divorce.
Yeah.
Well, they did, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, they did,
It's those people. It's those people that they probably think they are the people. A man will replace him who never expected to be king, and he didn't, did he? What was his name? George VI.
Oh, I do you know
Sixth.
I don't know the numbers.
No.
There's only one I know by numbers, and that's Henry. Henry VIII
Yeah.
and Henry VII. And Richard III.
So we'll call him George. King's Speech. We know what we're talking about, don't we? So he never expected to be king. Yeah. So that rings true for that as well, doesn't it?
Depending on what you want to see from that, you can make it work for at least two of the things we looked at. And that's not even thinking about other countries that have had kings and queens and things that have happened that we aren't even aware of, or things that could come in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I think Nostradamus' prophecies or warnings or whatever you like to call them, I think they can only really be deciphered in retrospect. And unfortunately, retrospect's only as good as your knowledge, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future.
It's the same with all predictions. Can only be understood after the event, because a prediction is cryptic. That's why I don't like predictions. They're very cryptic, and they can be quite conflicting, and they can cause more harm than they actually can good predictions.
I think the third line, the people will force out the king of the islands, is more to say that it's the British Isles, it's the British king.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
And a man will replace him who never expected to be king. Now, if Charles abdicated, the man who would replace him would be William. And he'd expect to be king, wouldn't he? So, in essence, how can it be Charles's abdication?
No.
From what we know right now, obviously other stuff could happen, which would make somebody who wouldn't be expected to be king in that essence, would be like George, would be Harry. And at this moment in time, I'm sure but some people could probably see how Harry could become king. But looking at what we've got and the reality that we've got, it's unlikely at this moment in time.
At this moment in time, it's unlikely.
It's very, very unlikely. So that prophecy for me would more be the George VI and Edward. That makes more sense to me. And obviously he's done this. He's been doing some of these in retrospect, but he's also looked at this for the future. When did Charles divorce?
96.
96. So he's using that as his prediction that he's going to abdicate at some point. And so he's kind of looking at... I'm sure there's one for the Queen dying. Yeah, so he has predicted the Queen's death in 2022, which she did die. So through the pretend fury of divine emotion, the wife of the Great One will be badly wronged. Judges wish to condemn such a doctrine. The victim will be sacrificed to the ignorant people. I have no idea how that's linked to the succession of the throne.
So it's King Charles and his princess consort. So through the pretend fury of the divine emotion, the wife of the Great One will be badly wronged, Diana. Judges wish to condemn such a doctrine. The victim will be sacrificed to the ignorant people.
It does say. So a constitutional crisis occurs on the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Disestablishment of the Church of England, thanks to the civil nature of Charles's second marriage to the former Camilla Parker Bowles, is a distinct possibility. He's talking about potentially there's going to be a problem with the church because it goes against the rules of the church. It's a big push, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously this is a prediction for the future. So that's a succession to the throne, so it's not the prediction of the Queen's death, that one. That's Birth of an Island. I thought there was a prediction of the Queen's death, but it's not.
I think there is
really
somewhere,
there.
but they're all.
It's all very interesting. I was looking for that other thing, wasn't I? And I don't know what it was now. I think it was. It's 2000 and something, wasn't it? It was the Hillary Clinton. Didn't really come to pass either. Some Death of the Pope ones, which are quite good. So there's one about Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed.
In 2012.
But 2012, again, I think he's only linking this to Diana because it does have Diana in the title.
Despite all the money of Diana and Mercury, their empty shadows will be found at the lake. For the potter in search of new clay, he and his people will be drenched with gold.
So, the summary for that, I won't read the whole thing, is Nostradamus muses on the briefness of celebrity. Following the deaths of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed in a car crash in 1997, all the money and fame in the world are no longer of use to them. All that remains 15 years on are their empty shadows and a memorial water park at Alfo. I think it just, I don't know. Would you use that if you could write 942 predictions of the future? Would you say that about Diana? What's all that's left is going to be a water park. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see the integrity of the person. I'm not looking at an author, but of the person that's done it, as in.
Yeah. I don't think it's an integrity issue.
No, I'm just saying because different people have different perspectives, don't they?
Yeah. But again, these are all ones that he's predicting for the future from the knowledge that he's got. So financial Christ. So this is the one I was looking at, wasn't it? Was this the one? No, it wasn't that one. Oh, I've lost it now. So it's the assassination of a world leader. Not sure if he even mentioned it in this book. Maybe I picked that up out of the other book.
Because you've been looking across, haven't you?
Do you want to talk about something else while I look at this?
Like what?
I don't know. Carry on about talking about Nostradamus. What do you feel about Nostradamus?
I feel, do you know, I don't know. I think we should allow them all to be fluid and stop trying to pinpoint them and make them work for agendas. I'm feeling quite passionate about that. I think way too many people are trying to make them work for certain agendas. And also in doing so not being able to see the complexity of them and also allow them to speak for themselves, if that makes sense. I think you could do that. It's, yeah.
There we go.
This is it.
So we've got a religious revival. He's got the subject down for this one, and down as 2008. And I'll just read the summary. So, following the great financial crash of 2008, a spiritual vacuum can be detected throughout the Western society. This triggers a gradual return to organised religion and a concomitant revival in spirituality and religious practice. So, shall we read it out?
Yeah.
So, last but one holder of the prophet's name will take Diana for his day and for his rest. He will wander far with his head in a frenzy, delivering a great people from financial subjugation.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to explain what you thought that was?
Well, obviously we mentioned the name Diana's in there, so I'm going for the push, just like Mario did on his when he went for the push as soon as he mentioned Diana. And I'm looking again at the first line, the cryptic of the last but one holder of the prophet's name. Now I can't. The last but one holder, I'm going to take with a pinch of salt, and I'm just going to look at the prophet's name, which in my eyes is Muhammad. Mm-hmm. And who do you know linked to Diana? Muhammad al-Fayed. So he wanted Diana as part of his family, didn't he?
We'll take her for his day and for his rest as well, retirement.
So he wanted to be a British citizen, didn't he? So that was his rest, I think. He could rest himself easy if he became a British, because that was his aim, I think.
And then when the death happened,
he
went around he spent the rest of his life in a complete frenzy.
He did, yeah. He blamed everybody and everything, and the powers that be, powers that were, everybody, bar himself. He didn't look within, and we've all watched. Well, hopefully we've all watched The Crown, whether it's true or not.
We've had this discussion, haven't we? When we watched I know The Crown is loosely based, but take it away from The Crown, because watching The Crown got us into this conversation, and when he died as well, because obviously it came on what he used to say. A lot of when you're in guilt, when you know full well that you've caused something, or that what your actions haven't helped or could have helped to bring about something, because that's the truth. Whatever happened that night, there isn't just one reason for it. This is what I keep saying to people. There's not just one reason for it. So if he could sense his little part in it, if I'd have encouraged my son to push it, if I'd have demanded that they stay in the hotel, if I'd have given them proper body, etc., etc. But what you do is when you're in pain, you throw it out and you throw it to the nearest person that you can throw the blame at. So I think that there's a lot going on there.
It was the royal establishment, wasn't it? Because his perceivement of that is that let's not go around that they were racist and they didn't want him part of the British society. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to go there, but you know that was his perception of the powers that be in England, and because he was a rich man, he owned Harrods, which was a British institution, and he thought that probably by owning Harrods and running around in those circles, that was enough for him to become, I don't know, whatever, a duke, a duchess, not duchess, you know what I mean? You know, he could get into those realms, and he perceived that because he wasn't, you know, he was a Muslim man, that he was not getting in there because of that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I couldn't. I don't live in those. Yeah. I couldn't perceive that would be true because I'm not what people consider a racist. You know what I mean? If he wants to be British, let him be British. You know what I mean? He's put enough in. He's bought Harrods and all that kind of stuff. Why not? But that'd be it. We just don't know, do we? The last line, delivering a great people from financial subjugation. Well, he's a very rich man, so I'd like to think at some stage he's helped some people.
Yeah.
Back in Egypt or whatever.
Was it paying people as well?
Paying people? Oh God, Tina.
I'm just saying. No, but I'm just saying.
Not go down Tina.
I'm not saying it's Tina. I'm just saying, was he paying people for other stuff as well, not just for that?
Well, yeah.
Because there is actually investigations around him. But then again, you can also get a prediction where it can be split off into various different.
So again, this has gone down to religious revival. I don't understand how you get that one. I don't understand where he's come from in his conclusion on this one. Yeah. I don't really understand that. Apart from the financial subjugation bit, obviously he's gotten down to the financial crisis, and the religion part is a prophet. I don't know. I don't understand his deciphering of it. I think mine's rings more truer. And they're both done in retrospect. No, this is a future one, I think. If the book was 2005. So
2008, I mean, that's 11 years after Dinah's death, but also as well, wasn't that around about the time?
Yeah, but this is his
the
prediction.
investigations.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
the
But
investigations.
this isn't 2008. Isn't Nostradamus' prediction. This is the guy's this is Mario's interpretation of where that might fall, because his interpretation of the prophecy of what he thinks the prophecy means, which is nothing to do with Diana at all, anyway.
Yeah.
But more to do with the financial meltdown of 2008.
It's a very complex. I think it's very complex.
It is, and I think people trying to link the 228s and the whatever numbers with dates, and I don't think the dates.
No.
I don't think the dates. If there were dates, they'd all match up perfectly. Yeah, I think when you do predictions, they could be out by a couple of years. But
if you got a book and you've got 20 people in that book club, 20 people read that book club in their own homes, through their own eyes, through their own lens, with their own backstories. Everyone in that 20 people will see that book differently. Some people will hate it, some people love it, some people will not be able to understand it. Some people, they'll all see the different characters, and it's the same with this. And I think as well. So I think it's also being used as a form of manipulation at the minute, not by Rotting, but I think by just the person on the street.
Well, anything could be manipulated. I mean, you can just pick out any. I mean, let's pick one at random from a Kindle book. It's not all of them, because I've not paid for it. I've just got the. Let's see if pick a number. In fact, pick a number between 1 to 10.
11. Oh. 8. Let's stay with 8.
No. Pick a number between 1 and 6. I've only got 1 to 6.
4.
4, right. So let's go to century 4, and then pick a number between 1 and 100.
1 and 100.
Yeah. Anything between 1 and 100.
10.
Right. I'm quicker. Scroll through books.
God.
You should have said 2. 4, right. So century 4, prediction 10. The young prince, falsely accused, will plunge the army into trouble and quarrels. The chief murderer murdered for his support. Sceptre to pacify, then to cure. Oh God, I can't even read that. Can you read that?
No, to cure scrofula. The young prince, falsely accused, will plunge the army into trouble and quarrels. The chief murdered for his support. I mean, I have no idea.
Well,
first
can
of all,
I
could
go?
that actually be a Prince Harry at the top?
Well, I think you could. I think you could link that to Prince Harry, because he made some stuff in his book.
Well, now he's actually saying he was lying in his book now about his drug use.
Well, he will be. Well, we're not even going to go
So
there.
that he's opened a right, because I read that this morning, he's opened a right can of worms now, as Harry.
Yeah, he won't lie.
Yeah, but, you know...
You know what I mean?
Apparently he was lying to get it...
Well,
but he wasn't lying. But he was. But he wasn't.
Was he lying? A young lad in those circles at those times?
I have to wonder if he wasn't playing it down, to be honest.
He probably was. I mean, what he's saying now, he's lying about his drug use in his book, so they don't open his records up in America. Because he'll probably lying on that. He probably said no.
He could be coming back to England, you know, and having to come back. Or don't they do a period where you stay there so long and then you come back so long?
Yeah, you unless you're a citizen, he can only stay there for so long. And I think you get a visa in America. Help me out here, anybody from America. But I think you get a visa and you can only stay there for so long until you renew your visa. So... yeah, could be interesting. His renewal for his visa might be interesting if he has to explain his drug use in his renewal. But again,
Young prince falsely accused.
So I don't know. Maybe what he did in his army days, he mentioned in his book.
Yeah.
And people maybe had a go at him. I don't know. And what he said in his book said quibbles in the army. Maybe. I don't know if...
And then it goes off and becomes random.
Well, a chief murdered for his support. I wouldn't say murdered in this instance. He was probably sacked. So what, as part of Harry's book, was anybody in the upper realms of the army sacked at that time? I don't know. And I've no idea what the fourth word... I don't even understand those words, I've got to say. Sceptre to pacify, then to cure Scifiora. I have no idea. Can we... Can't compare, can we? Let me copy. Let's Google that, eh? Let's use a bit of technology and see if we can Google that sentence and see what it means. It's actually telling me it's come from this book. So it's just now it's I hate that. When you start deleting something and it deletes the whole sentence, and you only want to leave one word. So it's a symbol of sovereignty.
Yeah, it's the ball, isn't it?
Yeah. So it says ornamental.
It's the golden ball that they hold.
So that's what I thought a sceptre was.
Oh God! What was that then?
I thought we were going to get some suits coming in here. A Scifiora.
Door's just shut by itself.
Apparently it's a swelling of lymph nodes in your neck caused by a bacterial infection. Yeah, so it's an infection. That's weird, isn't it? Oh, why is Scifiora called King's Evil? However, because of the association of its spontaneous remission with the royal touch. Alright, so it's still... So it's tuberculosis was called the King's Evil. Because I presume it killed kings as well as every man. You know, just because you were God's anointed person on this earth. At the time, tuberculosis would kill you. So, yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? You picked a weird one, boss.
Yeah. What's your summing up of it then? What's your summing up of the whole Nostradamus journey?
Summing up, so I've got another opinion on this one. And could it be Nostradamus and his mates down the pub? What can we do for a laugh? You know what I mean? And that's why they're very cryptic. And a lot of them, you can say, well, you can predict anything, can't you, really? You can predict, I think one of them, in fact, which book is it? It is that book that I'm reading, that I've got open now. Let me see if I can get it right back to... So I've just got to work out how to use... Damn you. It's just opened up the wrong thing, that. So I'm still not that au fait with iPads. So the opening... One of the opening... Oh, it was the other book. It was this book. One of the opening things was a quotation from one of the... Power will be given to overcautious fools. Was one of the... That's 295. Now... Power will be... There's probably more to it than that.
Yeah.
But power will be given to overcautious fools. That's quite wide sweeping, isn't it? And a lot of them are quite wide sweeping. And they could have just gone, have a laugh, and we'll just put loads of wide sweeping. We'll make 900 of them, and people can predict whatever they want out of it in the future. Now, why would you do that? Well, they did it for a laugh. So people, idiots like me and Claire, could talk about it on a video on YouTube.
I don't know. I don't think they'd do that, to be honest.
But no, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's one potential truth. The other, it is somebody who's made predictions, but again, he's hidden the meaning twice. In the way they're written, in centuries, in tens of hundreds, or and then the cryptic way he's written them. To I don't know. Should people know their future?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And should they only be deciphered in retrospect?
Yeah.
It almost told you so. You know what I mean? But I'm not telling you what the future actually is. And where the future lies.
Little snippets.
Yeah. Well, I'm just mixing it all up as well.
Because actually, that's another fact. You're actually not meant to see the whole future because that can actually cause more pain and damage than it can.
Yeah.
So that's why you're always given cryptic.
You know, there's so many predictions here. Again, there's one here, I think it's the same one, 488. From Barcelona, a very great army by sea. All Marseille will tremble with terror. Islands seized, help shut off by sea. Your traitor will swim on the land. Now that could be an old war, you know what I mean? That could be a very old war. My history's too... I couldn't even look at deciphering it right now. But that could be a very old war, a European war. That could be part of the Second World War. It could be part of the... When was Elizabeth I?
1500s.
Was she? So about this time? So that could be almost events. That could be to do with Napoleon.
No, that came after. That was the 18s. 17s.
Yeah.
Could be the Armada.
Yeah, could be to do with the Armada around Barcelona. Great army by sea, so that's the naval army. All of Marseille will tremble in terror. I don't know. My history's a bit vague on it at the moment, off the top of my head. But you know, that could be something from that period. I
think
you just decipher what you'd be. I mean, it's quite that is quite more. You know, oh, let's have a look at that. What army sailed from Barcelona and went to Marseille or France? You know what I mean? They're all very close together, though.
Yeah.
It's all in the Med.
I think with predictions as well, and I don't mean this for Nostradamus, I think for the people that have it's fallen into their hands afterwards, either via internet, via book or whatever, there can be a lot of ego. Everybody wants to think they've deciphered it or they understand it. And in actual fact, it's just a prediction. And the truth is, will it have an effect on your outcome of your life? Possibly not.
Possibly not.
And also as well, I think they need to be, let them flow and let it play out in the way it always needs to play out in.
Yeah, I mean, you could read any kind of truth in any of these predictions.
You can read what you want into them.
And you could run your life with it, and you could go in a really weird direction, and you'd probably end up living somewhere in the sticks, somewhere with a tin hat on your head. I don't know. Because it could send you mad. You know what I mean? It could. It's trying
a
to
lot
decipher
of this can
this.
send people mad. That's a true fact. A lot of it can. Which why when you walk a path like he has, you've got to stay grounded because otherwise you can actually go. It's almost as well, and this can be triggering, but being careful what information like this, the hands that it falls into. Because if you've got somebody with an agenda, or you've got someone that's not of balance, or you've got somebody that they can. And I don't mean the writer of this. I don't mean the author of this book. I mean other people.
Yeah, I don't know when they're looking at predictions in the newspapers and so Nostradamus has predicted this, this, and this for this year. Whose decipherings they're using? Because they're not Nostradamus's. He doesn't give any years in any of his things. He puts it down to 1 to 9 centuries, and each one there's 100 poems. It's people like the one that I've looked at, the Mario. He's deciphered it and he's linked it to years. Whether there's more than likely be other people's own predictions, and it's probably linked to some degree. But a lot of time, I think it's best fit.
Yeah, I also think as well timelines. The world exists on timelines, different timelines, and all timelines at the minute are fluid. very, very fluid for various reasons. So that could be why some of it makes sense and some of it doesn't, because it's all energy, if that makes sense. Things that could have been seen then, we may have bypassed that in a way, and it may have come in a different way. But I think it's interesting.
It is. Very
And I think it's also about respecting his work, because there's a lot of that as well, taking people's work and trying to make them out to be a fake, which is why I've been very quiet with this, because as a fellow craftsperson, you've got to be careful, because people do it to me, and they take things out of context. And there's an Amazon one pulling up on the side. They take things out of context, and they can muddy the waters. And I think it is someone's craft.
Oh yes, I'm not criticising the man for what he's done.
I'm talking about there is a lot of that out there.
I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah.
Whether I believe some of the stuff that he's come to decide on, I don't know. Whether I've got my own opinions on them, I do. And again, but that's my opinion. He's got his opinion, and he's probably sold quite a lot of books, and I haven't. And he's deciphered the French, and I haven't.
Yeah.
So he's got more way there than I have. So interesting though.
It is interesting.
Very interesting. Or whether he's right, I don't know who's deciphered the French in this book that I'm reading though. I have no idea, because they're quite similar. Interesting.
So,
but yeah, should we leave it there?
Yeah, I think we should leave it there, because what do you think? It's interesting.
It is interesting. There's a lot of opinion. Hopefully you've all got different opinions on this one. I don't know where to go, to be honest with you.
And that's the thing with predictions. It's the truth is that you can get 5 psychics or 5 astrologers in a room. They will on say, right, I want you to predict March.
Joke, that.
I want you to predict March 2024, and they will all get similar things. They will all get very different things. They will all get different takes on things. And it doesn't mean to say one's wrong and one's right and one's perfect and one's really good at it. There's different perspectives to everything.
Well, it's the historical.
It's like the death of Diana. There are many different things at play that night. There wasn't just one reason for that. There was many different reasons for that.
It's like the Boys in the Tower video did though, didn't we? Where we talked about history, and history is written by the winners. Everybody's got their own interpretation of what happened yesterday. Both me and Claire could write down what happened to us yesterday, and they'd probably differ to some degree. Is that our dog? You carry on talking.
You should cut this bit out.
No, it's fine. Just carry on talking.
I'll try wrap it up then.
No, keep it up.
We're still going. This is Amazon coming. Some more books for Claire. Yeah. Have you ever watched the Affair? Was it The Affair with Dominic West in it? Where I really enjoyed that. I think the writer of that, The Affair, is an amazing person. I don't know what it is. Where he basically...
How did you get to The Affair?
Basically because it's a story where there's different perspectives. So you get his perspectives, you get the wife's perspectives, you get the mistress' perspective, you get the children's perspectives, and they're all different. They're all different, but they're all right.
That makes sense. I was going to say, it's like, how did she get to The Affair? I'd only just gone to the door and back, and we've gone from Nostradamus to The Affair.
To Dominic West.
To Dominic West. And back to Prince Charles. I see where you've gone. Yeah.
And I think that's how I'm looking at it, and I think be as open and as balanced as you can with predictions, because otherwise it does actually cause illness. It really, and I say this as a lot.
Yeah, you've got to know your truth, haven't you? And if that's your truth, then you stick to that, your truth. Otherwise, you'll probably just send yourself insane.
Thanks for watching. So we're going to.
On that note,
it's been a straight. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's just I think there's a lot of crazy energy around Nostradamus at the minute. Not him, the person. I think a lot of agendas have come into play, and I'm feeling that, and that's why I've gone very quiet with it this video, because I've had to wade myself through that. there is a lot of agendas at the minute latching onto this to try and push it into the way that they want to. But I've enjoyed it. Blessings to Nostradamus. And if you get to the end of this video and you want to leave a comment, why don't you leave a magic wand,
A book.
or a crystal ball,
Yeah.
or a wizard
A wizard.
emoji.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I like the word boots.
Boots.
He was a pharmacist, wasn't he?
God. Thank you for watching.
Super drug.
Like, comments. Oh, if you've enjoyed this, there's more natters on the playlist. We're going to go royal next time. I'm itching to get this one done.
Okay, you want to go
Charles and
royal?
Camilla.
Yeah, fine. We'll go royal.
I might do a Charles and Camilla stroke Charles and Diana one.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Like,
you.
comment and subscribe. Bye.
So long.